Meeple Nation Podcast 2022 Holiday Gift Guide.
Bonus episode.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
This being the Meeple Nation Podcast 2022 Gift Guide, I have got the only thing you need to hear. Spend all of your Christmas budget at GameToppersLLC.com. There is so much good equipment there. There's so many things that are going to make the gamer in your life smile.
I think you're spot on, Dave. There has been nothing, and we talked about this with Berkey at BGG. There is nothing that has enhanced my game night. No game, no new game room, more than the Game Toppers. It makes every game night epic.
Oh, and it's not just the toppers. We talk about the toppers all the time, and it's called Game Toppers, but there's just so much more. In fact, when I walked into your game room recently, I noticed the dining leaves on your Game Topper, and I was just so excited to see them. They look great, and they add a bunch more functionality to the game room.
Yeah, I'm super excited about those because we're going to pull them off. We're going to set up Gloomhaven underneath, and when we're done, we're going to cover up Gloomhaven and leave Gloomhaven there and uncover it next week.
I'm down.
As am I. I'm excited because that's actually going to happen. We're not going to talk about it anymore. As soon as we're done recording here, we're going to set it up. It's real, people. This is happening.
It's real.
And that's our gift guide.
Until next time.
For real, though, go to GameToppersLLC.com. You hear us talk about it all the time. If this isn't your first time here, you've heard us mention it over and over and over again. There is a reason. There are many reasons, and you will discover them at GameToppersLLC.com.
Welcome to Meeple Nation. We are your hosts. I am Andy Holliday.
I am Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
And I'm Dave Holliday.
So Dave mentioned that if this was your first time listening to us, then go over to Game Toppers LLC. We talk about it all the time. Well, even if this is not your first, or it is, check out our website as well at meeplenation.com. We have links to all of our past episodes. All of our future episodes will also have links on our website. We have blogs that we release weekly. Each of us have written blogs, and we even have guest bloggers that write for us. We have bios of each of us. So if you're interested in kind of where we come from and how we got into gaming, check out our bios. Also, if you have any questions or comments or just want to say hello and give a shout out, then email us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, we love what we do. And if you love it too, we would appreciate it if you would click the link for our Patreon page, become a patron. We love our patrons that continue to help us out and to help make Meeple Nation a better podcast and a better experience for all of you.
It is time for the Meeple Nation 2022 Gift Guide. We've done this for several years now, and the premise or the idea behind this gift guide is that we are all gamers, and so it's tough for us sometimes, and may be tough for you as well, that you want to give a game to one of your friends who may not be a gamer or would not consider themselves a gamer. And so we've come up with lists of games that would be something that you could use to help rope them into the hobby, a game that would be ideal for you to teach. So they're games that tend to be more simple and easy to teach, easy to play, and hopefully will get your friends to the table more often. You know, the first one's free, but once you get them past that first one, then you can get them into those heavier games like Twilight Inscription or Gloomhaven or Ark Nova. Then, of course, we do have gamers in our life, and so we want to include some gift ideas to give them as well. Shopping for that gamer in your life is a little bit more challenging because chances are, if there's a game that he or she wants, he or she most likely has gone out and bought it or has not bought it for a particular reason. Unless the gamer in your life has given you a gaming list, we have some options for you as well. I'll start our list off. First game, it's a newer game for this year, Project L. Project L has been a great game for simplicity, yet layers of strategy involved. You have polynomial pieces you're going to draw, upgrade, and place onto different puzzle tiles that you can put in front of you. And as you complete each tile, you're going to gain more pieces and allow you to complete more puzzles. And so it is a race to complete the most puzzles and earn the most points at the end of the game. A game that is very aesthetically pleasing and also has that challenge level that will not just get your gamer friend to the table, but will keep them coming back. And so that's Project L. That's one that you'll probably have to look for on Amazon. I know Andy just bought 3 copies for his household because sometimes 1 copy is not enough.
The reason why I have 3 copies, so my daughters are both working on their game libraries. They're starting early, much earlier than I did. Project L is on both of their lists. Both loved it. My daughter Sierra in particular really liked Project L. And I remember the first time I played it and I thought, she's going to love this game. And she did. So I nabbed 3 copies, 1 for me and 1 for each of them. And hopefully they haven't shipped yet. So I'm really hoping that they will ship and in fact get here before Christmas.
Typically the games that I like are on the heavier side, almost exclusively. But this one, I'd totally play it anytime.
Project L's great. First time that I played this, I played it with my wife. She's a casual gamer. She fell in love with it the first time we played it, and I enjoy playing it every time we get it to the table. So I think it's got a lot to offer for everyone. This is kind of just a universally loved game.
So the first game I picked is New York Zoo. If you've listened to previous podcasts over the last several months, you have probably heard that my mom, she is a recent widow, and she has started coming over to my house to play games on Monday afternoons, every other Monday. When she first showed interest in coming over and playing games with myself and my kids, I had to think, okay, what in the world are we going to play? Because she's not a gamer. She's never really played games. What do I want to introduce her to? New York Zoo is the game we've probably played the most, and it's one that she specifically requests to play when she comes. Oh, let's play that animal one, that zoo one. And now she's getting where let's play New York Zoo. So now she knows the title. It's another game that you have the polynomial pieces, has a Tetris feel to it. You're trying to build your zoo up. You're going around the board, and you're either going to be collecting an enclosure to place in your zoo, or you're going to be collecting 2 types of animals. As you're going around, you're filling up those enclosures, which are going to give you bonus tiles. First player to completely fill up every space in their zoo wins. So it's pretty simple, definitely not complex, but once again, similar to Project L, there are definitely strategies involved to best fill up that area, whether it's you're trying to get enclosures filled up as quickly as possible to get the better bonus tiles, or you're trying to get some of the bigger polynomial pieces, which are on the top. The ones on the bottom of the stacks are the smaller ones that are easier to fill up with animals, but they're harder to get to because they're on the bottom. There are definitely some layers of strategy involved, but the game is simple enough that non-gamers can enjoy it. And it's one that has hit our table quite often, especially on those days that my mom comes to play games.
So you heard it here first. New York Zoo is Scary Ant approved.
Did you say it was scary?
No, Andy's mom was the scary ant growing up.
In fact, I mentioned my mom and Dave probably peed his pants a little bit.
So if you're looking for something to give the gamer in your life who has seemingly everything, one thing that I have discovered is the gift of travel-sized games. Some games even have like a travel edition. It is really nice. Even if they already own a copy of certain games, it's really great to have a small travel version of that game as you're going from place to place, something that you can pull out of your backpack and play when you've got 15, 20 minutes. There's a few that I wanted to mention really quick. For Sale. They actually do make a travel version of For Sale. Fantasy Realms, which we recently acquired the deluxe edition of that game. And so that one can sit on my shelf in the game room for when we want to play that. But I also have the small box, the deck of cards to throw in my backpack. I also wanted to throw out Ohanami. When we were in Texas for BGG Con, I had the opportunity to go and visit my parents who are currently living in the Fort Worth area. And they wanted me to teach them a game. So I busted Ohanami out and they kept asking, hey, can we play that again? Can we play that again? Can we play that again? When we were done, my mom said, wow, we really need to pick up a copy of this game. And I just said, hey, keep this one. You know, I've got a couple more at home. Also, having some of these smaller games that you can just give out as gifts is a good way to get people into the hobby as well. A few others that you may consider are The Crew. I know Star Realms. And then, of course, Button Shy is a company that they make all kinds of what are called wallet games. So they're 18 card games, and any of those would fit this category as well. But I think every gamer should have a few that they can just travel with, a few that just slip in your backpack and go with you wherever you may travel.
You know, Ohanami, that's usually one of the games that I recommend to people that are non-gamers when they ask, okay, well, what's a good game? And that's almost always one of my first ones. I ask, how old are your kids? It's usually going to be, if they're a little bit older, I'll say Ohanami. If they're younger, I'll say Dixit. those two are they're great gateway games. In fact, even for gamers, Doug, that was the game you gave me for Christmas last year, and I didn't own it at the time. I own it now because of you, and we have played the daylights out of that game.
Yeah, it's one that I've played several times. My wife enjoys it. My kids enjoy it. When we have some free time and we're waiting for something to get done, like we're waiting for dinner to get done on Thanksgiving, it's a great game to play.
So if I had to pick a game to recommend, it would be Ohanami. But also, if you're shopping for somebody who seems to have it all, look for some travel editions of games.
If you have a gamer friend and you have access to their gaming library, maybe take a look at what they have, what they don't have. You should have a feel of what they kind of like. You may still be able to find something they don't have and get it for them. And there are so many small games out there that are fun like that. A lot of times you spend the money on the bigger games and those little ones kind of, at least in my case, those little ones kind of get ignored because you're looking for that big Kickstarter or the next really cool game that's going to be this epic experience. And I don't typically focus on those filler games, which are important because sometimes you have to have those filler games waiting for the other game table to finish. I think that list qualifies even for gamer friends too. Try to figure out what their tastes are and what they have in their game library, and maybe that would also work for them as well.
My number one go-to recommendation when you're trying to buy a gift for the heavy gamer that has a bunch of stuff, talk to some of their gaming friends. Talk to some of the people that they play with most and find out, some recommendations from them, because everybody has got different tastes. This hobby is so full of themes, of different mechanics, of just different styles. It's near impossible to be like, oh, okay, this is the game for this person. Talk to some of his gaming friends or her gaming friends. Find out, like you were just mentioning it, what does he not have in his library that is a type of game that he would love? And for me, typically, I want the thing that nobody else has. It's just so that I can have something that I bring to the table, so to speak.
If Cheryl came to any of you guys and said, I need to get a game for Nathan, how easy would that be?
Impossible.
I think that would be difficult for you because half the time you forget what you've ordered. There's no way that we would be able to do it because we have no idea what you've got on order.
Right. And so that's kind of my point. Chances are there's somebody you know that has issues.
I wish everyone could see the borderline self-loathing look on Nathan's face right now.
But there's other things that you can get for that gamer. Shirts. There's a shirt that I saw that was on the Etsy store, and it reads, before you ask, yes, I have so many board games. No, they are not like Monopoly. Yes, I do need them all. No, I haven't played them all. Yes, I have spent a fortune on them. No, I do not have a problem. And Dave's sitting here wearing his shirt that reads, I love when my wife lets me play board games.
But it's kind of clever. People all the time stop me because from far away, all you can really read is, I love my wife. But then as you get closer, you can see there's the letters in between. So it's I love, and then right below there, it win in small letters, and then my wife, and then the small letters again, lets me play board games. My wife bought this for me, actually.
That's a great shirt, Dave. But there's other shirts out there that says hello, I'm purple, hello, I'm red, to indicate their favorite color. There's dice trays that when you're throwing your dice, those dice can stay on the table. They don't go rolling across the table. Bit holders for holding game tokens, game pieces. Metal coin upgrades. A lot of people love metal coins. They make a lot of noise and they're fun to just stack and drop as you're playing a game. It doesn't get annoying at all when I do it nonstop. Everybody loves it.
Poker chips could fall into that category too, as far as a lot of people, in fact, prefer using poker chips over coins for currency in games.
Another example is Quacks of Quedlinburg, which is a great game that would also make any holiday gift list. But there's also upgrades for that game. If you go to the Board Game Geek store, there's replacement tokens for the little cardboard chits. Logan got that for me last year. And then while we were at BGGCon this year, they had little tubs that allow you to put all your chips in there. It helps sort out those chips by denomination. And then it also gives you a place to set up the cards when you're playing the game. So it has a double use on there that it's not just for storage, it's for gameplay as well.
For Father's Day, my daughter got me a decoration for the game room. So she snuck away during SaltCon and went to the vendor hall and bought a little sign to put in the game room that says, yes, I really do need all these board games. And it's hanging in my game room. So something that can enhance just the look of the game room. I like to have wall art. I like to have everything look nice. the games can be a display in your game room, but I also like having other things that are kind of along that same genre or the same theme of games, right? Of whether it's fantasy or whatever. Create the ambiance when you're sitting down to play a game. To be surrounded with that vibe, I think that increases my enjoyability of being in just a cool space.
So to kind of maybe bring this back and focus a little bit more on those gateway games, welcoming games, games to introduce to new players, I'm going to actually recommend, rather than a game, I want to recommend a designer. I love games by Phil Walker Harding. He's an incredibly talented designer, but his games do tend to be on the more simple and welcoming side. He's done games like Sushi Go and Sushi Go Party. He's done Baron Park. He's done, I know, one of our kids' personal favorites, Gizmos, which is a fantastic welcoming game, as well as a few others and some that are coming out. So if you're looking for a great game to introduce to new players, look up Phil Walker Harding and check out some of his games.
On that note, another game that I think fits that category, So Clover, is a game, I think the first time I played it was down at BryceCon. Not the style of game that I am usually into, but I had a great time. My wife loved it. My daughter showed up later and we got to play it with her and she loved it so much so that that's actually probably the first game that went into her collection. But it's a simple word game, but it's not like most word games. It's fun. And it's just a good game to get for people that might be intimidated by a lot of games. That's a game I think that anybody can sit down and play and really enjoy. And the great thing is it's not super involved in length. In fact, you could play it for 5 minutes and be done if you want and have a great time. Or you can play it for 30 minutes. It's just a real good game.
So right along those lines is a new one that I picked up and played a couple weekends back, and it's called Fun Facts. Each player has a chevron. You'll write your name on one side of the chevron, and then the other side is they'll be asked a question. And so some of the questions like, how long is the perfect nap? How many hats do you own? How long is the perfect movie? After the question is proposed, everybody's going to write their answer on the back of their chevron, and then they're going to put their chevrons down on the table, name side up, and then the group as a whole is going to try to identify what order they should be in. And so you're going to say, well, I'm pretty sure I have a lot of hats, or I have more hats than Andy, and I definitely have less hats than Doug. You try to organize that so that they're in order. And then once the group has decided on that order, then they'll flip over the chevrons. Each one that is in the correct order, they're going to score a point. And each one that is out of place, they won't count. And so you're trying to just score the most points. Very fun, not necessarily just a gateway game, but also a great icebreaker game where that conversation comes up that somebody has way too many hats. And that's a fun game to include in multiple ages. When I played it with our friends Jim and Kim and my wife and I, and we played with my mother, Kim's dad, and his cousin. We had a wide scope of age differences, but it was great to be able to just blend everybody together and be able to enjoy a casual game together. Ton of fun. I highly suggest Fun Fact.
When I was trying to compile the list of games that would be great gateway games or games to introduce to non-gamers, I tried to think of games that would maybe have a little bit of complexity to them, but are very easy to teach. That brought me to Kingsburg. Kingsburg is one of the early board games that I picked up. You have your player boards with all the buildings that you're building. So there's a layer of complexity that goes on there. But as far as what's happening on the main board, it's fairly straightforward. You're placing dice to influence the different advisors to the king or the king or queen themselves. There's this strategy on how you split your dice up or whether you want to use all of your dice at once and where you are going in turn order. But the game is simple enough that it is one that I think that even non-gamers could grasp fairly quickly. And the teach is very easy on it. Teaching exactly what you're doing, how you go through the seasons, and then the meatiest part of it is really the buildings, on what the buildings do for you and types of strategies maybe somebody wants to go for when building buildings. But I don't think it's overly complex, especially if you go with the main game and not use the expansion board, because that does add a couple more rows of buildings. I think it's a simple enough game that people could be introduced to something that has almost like a worker placement type vibe to it, but with dice rolling and building almost like a tableau building as well.
That's a great suggestion. This is a fantastic game. And I think it's one that, as you mentioned, obviously is good for those beginners. But you can have several people at all different levels of gaming sitting around the same game of Kingsburg, and they'll all walk away enjoying it. You can do all the strategy you want and have a great time. They can just sit there as a beginner just going, okay, I'm tossing some dice, I'm going to play some here and this. But then I think it's also great because it's one, if they do enjoy it, it's a great one where they can actually learn to become more strategic in their play. That's one that will actually, I think it's a great starter. Plus it's great for helping them develop more into that.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's deep enough to allow the heavy duty gamer to enjoy, to sit down and play it, but yet the strategies aren't so complex that you're losing people that are either novices or maybe aren't gamers at all. I think of maybe playing a game with my sister who tells me she hates games, but played some games with them and they've really enjoyed them. So I think if you can get a game that someone who says they hate board games will actually play and have fun, that definitely qualifies as one of those gateway games.
It seems like in recent years, there has just been an explosion in the popularity of RPGs, and in particular, Dungeons and Dragons. And there's a lot of people out there right now who I think really want to get into it, but don't necessarily know where to start or how to get into it. And Wizards of the Coast, who publishes the Dungeons and Dragons material, they've done a really good job with the development of 2 products that I think should be mentioned as part of a holiday gift guide. They have a starter set and they also have an essentials kit. You don't need both of these products. They're each standalone. They both have just enough in the box to introduce players to the game, to have the dice that need to be rolled. They have just enough instruction to get started. They have a quick campaign that you can kind of play through. And both of them, I think, are really tailored to a younger audience as well. So you can still play them as an adult. They're fun, they're enjoyable, but they're also a good product for kids. I think of the 2, I would recommend the Essentials Kit over the starter set. I think that it has a little bit more in it, and I think you get a little more bang for your buck for what's in that Essentials Kit. But I've seen both of these products on Walmart and Target shelves for around the $10 mark. So this is a cheap gift to give to somebody who's interested in Dungeons and Dragons and maybe wants to get a start or just wants to dabble and see if playing RPGs is something for them.
That's a great recommendation. I hadn't even thought about RPG. You're right. RPGs, you're seeing all these new different campaign settings and just tons of different worlds that are coming out. And honestly, D&D is one of the first things that I got into that kind of helped me get into board games more. So I think that's a great suggestion. And I think it's cool that the Wizards of the Coast has come out with that to aid people so they're not so overwhelmed with the big player's handbook, the big rule book, right? I mean, if you have a group that has some experienced players that can help you teach the game, that's great. But if you don't, what a wonderful tool to have to be able to get into that and not feel overwhelmed and feel like you can actually get going on learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I think that's awesome. What a great suggestion.
I'm going to go away from board games for a minute and talk about another accessory. This is an accessory that I got from Kickstarter a while ago. In fact, it's the only Kickstarter I've ever participated in. It's ice dice.
Ice. Bum, dum, 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 dum.
Are we listening to David Bowie?
I'm super excited about your ice dice, Dave. When are we going to get to enjoy?
I as soon as I clear some
cold
space in my freezer.
Is your freezer that full that you can't make dice
It really
ice
is.
in there?
It really is, because I keep buying stuff.
I'll make the ice.
All I need is somebody to say, "Hey, Dave, you still have that pork belly that you want me to smoke?"
Dave, do you still have the pork belly you want me to smoke?
Yeah.
Okay, bring it over to my house.
Okay. Anyway, ice dice, it's a silicone mold. It's a full set of dice, right? Like starting from your D20, D12, 2D10s, D8, D6, and D4, right? So it's like the full set of dice that you would use for your RPG or whatever. They're big. I mean, they're bigger than those dice typically are. It's a mold you fill up with water, put it in the freezer, and it creates these ice cubes that are dice. And so I just thought it was a cool thing that would be fun to buy and never take to game night. No, to make these ice and take, especially on RPG night, right? And have ice to go in the drinks and all of that. I've made several dice with them. I'm actually going to experiment with making some chocolates, melting down some chocolate and putting them in there and filling them up with that. And hopefully it'll turn out. But a little accessory that can really work for just about anybody if you're going to have any sort of a game night or just some sort of a party that is like a fun game type theme. Great little thing to have.
Seven Wonders is a game that a lot of people really like. I'm not one of those people, but there is a new version of Seven Wonders that has simplified the game. Not that Seven Wonders was overly complex to begin with, but has simplified the game and made it far more accessible, in my opinion, and that is Seven Wonders Architects. It's a very quick, easy to learn game. You have a stack of cards on your left, stack of cards on your right, and a stack of cards in the middle. You're going to draw from any one of those stacks to add to your domain to build your wonder, and it goes up to 7 people, allowing you to include more people, and it doesn't increase the gameplay, which is really nice. Seven Wonders Architects is very well done and easy to pack, easy to teach. I think Seven Wonders is a great game to give to that new person to the hobby.
I agree with you. I'm also in the same camp that Seven Wonders is not my favorite, but I really enjoyed Seven Wonders Architects. I actually enjoyed Seven Wonders Duel as well, which is a 2-player version of the game. It's definitely much more simple and more enjoyable, in my opinion. Also, for those that love Seven Wonders, both of these games I think are hits for them as well.
I don't mind Seven Wonders, and I liked Architects better. So I would agree with you, Nathan. Architects is great. I loved it. It was fun. Well, Logan would be proud that I have this on my list, but I think about deck builders, and there are 2 deck builders that come to mind when I think of kind of gateway deck builder games. DC Deck Builder is the first one that comes to mind, and Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle is the second one. Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle is, I feel, a very simple deck builder. The deck builder element is very straightforward, very simple, has a little complexity with asymmetrical powers, but that comes later in the game because you play the game through the 7 years at Hogwarts. We've talked about this kind of mechanic that games do, similar to Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion, where it starts you out with the very basic rules, and then it just builds and adds a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more every single time you play. And that's what Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle does. It starts out with the very basic rules of the game, how to play, how to get your deck built up. None of the characters you're playing have any powers yet. You're new wizards, right? You don't have any of those abilities yet. And you're playing through, you're only fighting one enemy in year 1, and then it gets to where you're fighting more and more at the same time, and it just gets more complex as you go. But yet it builds on that to where you're not overwhelmed with all the rules. I think it's a great introduction to that style of game for that reason, that it builds up to the more complex parts of the game.
It's a great one. I really enjoyed this one every time we've played it. I thought it was great. You just I didn't realize until you were talking right there, you just said 7 years. So it goes through the 7 years of school. Did they do 7 years of school?
Yes, Hogwarts is a 7-year program.
So it's just like high school.
Are you familiar with Harry Potter? I mean, there's 7 books, 1 for each year.
I don't read.
There's 8 movies. There's 8 movies, and the last one's called Part 1, Part 2.
Okay.
And it's each about one of the 7 years.
When the movies come out so sporadically, I don't know how many there are. I just know they're great. But anyway, the point is, it's just like high school. That's cool. Didn't know that.
For most people, it's not, but yeah.
I was going to make a comment after that, but I think Dave just kind of derailed that.
No, it's a really good suggestion. I have had several people reach out to me. It's getting toward the holiday time. I always have family and friends who reach out for game recommendations, stuff they can give their kids or put in stockings. And I've made this recommendation like 2 or 3 times already this year. I think if you're going to go with a deck builder, and especially if you're buying for people who are big Harry Potter fans, this is an awesome choice for Christmas. This would be a hit next to the stocking or under the tree for sure.
I think that's what goes so great with this game is it marries that Harry Potter theme and marries it to a great game mechanic and a great game system and produces something that both scratches that fandom itch as well as introducing them to a great deck building game.
Just get rid of all the rest of like everything I've set up to now. I think that's the one. Just get them Harry Potter's Hogwarts Battle.
I want to get rid of a lot of what you said before, but
Actually, another game that I think is a great game for anyone, but in particular for somebody that loves the legacy style of game, Charterstone is a wonderful game that does legacy very, very well. I mean, it's just a great game all around, legacy or not, just a very, very good game. Even Andy Poops loved it up until close to the end, and then he threw fits about it all the time. But
Yeah, I did.
anyway, Charterstone, great game.
One of the simplest games I own, which has also been one that gets to the table, in particular when I'm trying to teach kids how to play games. My nieces and nephews and younger kids is King Domino and Queen Domino as well. Queen Domino maybe for a little bit older players, but it is one that has enough critical thinking that it is challenging even for adults. But yet it's one that when I've played it with the younger kids, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, they've loved it. And it's been a ton of fun. And you can kind of help them, I think it's fun to try to say, okay, well, pay attention to what you're doing here. And this is kind of what you want to do. And you help them for the first few rounds, and it's fun to watch them think it out. And you don't have to help them after that. They kind of figure out, okay, well, I need to place this here. This is probably the best spot for me to place it. It's a quick game. It's simple. And yet it has a lot of fun elements to it. Once again, for being a gamer that I love the complex games, kind of like Dave, I enjoy those. I still have a lot of fun with King Domino. Queen Domino in particular, I like a lot more just because it has a little bit more to it. But both of them are really great gateway games and games that non-gamers would enjoy and probably would get to their table on their own just because it's so easy to learn. It plays so quickly as well.
Yeah, I agree, Andy. And I would even direct people to King Domino Origins if that's the direction they want to go. That one has a little bit more modularity. And so you can still play kind of that simpler version of King Domino, but it also has several things that you can introduce to the game that add some deeper, kind of more thinky elements to it that are a lot of fun.
Thinky elements are a lot of fun.
They really are.
Yeah, that's true. I've only played that once at your place, Doug, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great version.
As we wrap up our holiday gift guide, I wanted to make one more suggestion for people looking for the perfect gift for the gamer in their life that seems to have everything. Don't forget about storage solutions. Whether you're looking at wooden or foam inserts for games or just bit containers, there's Bits Bins and Geek Boxes that are two of the companies that make some really good kind of game specific containers. And I don't know any gamer out there that doesn't love having some good boxes, some good storage, and a good insert.
And totes.
And totes. Yep. So think storage for your gamer if all else fails.
Totes.
I see what you did there. So that will wrap up our holiday gift guide for the year 2022. For anybody who feels like they missed some of those suggestions, some of the games we talked about: Project L, New York Zoo, Kingsburg 2nd Edition, So Clover, Fun Facts, Quacks of Quedlinburg, Ohanomy, A Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, Seven Wonders Architect, King Domino, Queen Domino, King Domino Origins, Seven Wonders Duel, Charterstone, travel versions of games, board game clothing, dice trays, bin holders, game topper mats, metal coins or poker chips, upgraded game pieces, board game room art, game totes. Also for those beginning RPGers, we talked about role-playing game starter kits. So we hope any of these suggestions help you and help others join into this amazing hobby that we love so much. And as always, if you have any suggestions that you feel that we should have included, please let us know. meeplenation@gmail.com. On that note, we wish everybody a happy holiday and a safe end of the year.
Until next time.
We'll see you standing in line at the department store buying games. Do people go to the store anymore? People will see you.
They must, because they still have every Christmas
They
that
still
big
have Black
store in the
Friday
mall
things,
that
right?
opens
Standing in
up.
line at Amazon.
But not for games.
No, I'm saying they have an absolute just a game, the dude that brings in tons of games to the mall. He has a little setup in the middle of the walkway. I guess
Are
never mind.
malls
I haven't
still
been.
around?
I haven't been in a mall for probably 10 years, so maybe not.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter @Meeple Nation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product, and they have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Braden Detergent for our music.
And that is Go
Just go. Just go.
Just
We
go.
don't want you around here anymore.
Could just go
Go, baby, go.
Kind of like
Go.
Logan.
and spend all your Christmas budget there.
Crispus?
Christmas budget. Spend all of it. Spend all your Christmas budget
There.
at that website I said.
I declare a redo.
That's a lot of love.
That is a lot of love.
Got a whole lot of love.
Double feature use there. Double feature use, that's stupid.
It's definitely much more simplerly.
Wow, do you want to try that one more time?
As we wrap up our holiday gift guide, I just wanted to make
Wrap up. I like it, Doug.
okay. Bits. Gosh, there's Geekbots. Yep.
Bebop, bebop, bop.